So what's your name, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
My name is Sean Ohlinger, and a little bit about myself. I'm a biochemist. I've been working at Wave Function for about 20 years. Our company, Wave Function, is a molecular modeling software company headquartered in Irvine, California. We have 2 suites there, and we have a small branch office with 3 employees in Tokyo, Japan.
So what are some key important details that you were looking for when you were searching for a building space? What were your business needs?
The primary thing that's a little bit unique about our company is the development of our software, the actual product, is mostly done locally here in Irvine, but we have a separate development suite where that's done. But the development team sort of needs a more quiet space, kind of low key, not a lot of noise. They don't really want a lot of phone calls or anything like that. So it really worked better to keep the development side separate from our business office, where, we've got phone calls and fax machines and Zoom conferences and other things like this going on. So a little bit unique as far as most companies would kind of want everyone to be consolidated in a single space. We're a little bit different in that we actually work better having the business office separated from the development suite.
So what are some concerns you had throughout the whole leasing process, and how did Randy help?
Really the biggest thing for us, my CEO is very generous with our employees. Everyone has an office, their own office with their own door and windows. So we kind of have a pretty cushy existence as far as I'm concerned. So I think the biggest concern was, maintaining that level of privacy and comfort for everyone, just as a little bit of a perk for working with our company.
So how was Randy's service excellence towards you? Did Randy respond, listen, and solve your problems?
Randy's I can't say enough positive things about him. He listens, he hears what you're saying, and then sometimes when you're not 100% sure what you're saying, he hears what you mean. So he's very intuitive that way. I think he has a pretty solid lock on what the local market is, at least in Orange County, and knows the types of concerns that any company would be facing when they come to a renewal. Or at one point we were considering purchasing, and he helped us with sort of speccing a number of properties at that point as well. He just has a real understanding of the market and a great anticipation of concerns, or really what the primary objectives are as far as doing a renewal or moving to a new location, and really focuses on those, and just does a really good job representing us as tenants. So I really can't say enough about him. He's done a fantastic job for us. I get emails and phone calls from a number of people who are in the commercial real estate industry. And we're not a huge company. We have a decent amount of square footage in our building, but I wouldn't consider us to be a huge priority for anyone. But I'm blown away by how many people reach out all the time. Oh, looks like your lease might be coming due for renewal. What can we do to help you? Let us give you some prospectus on the market. And my response is always, hey, we work exclusively with Randy Mason. I've known him for years. He does a fantastic job representing us. We already have this information, but here's his contact info if you want to interface with him. But we're not looking to make a change in representation, and that will be the case going forward. And I would recommend Randy essentially to anyone. I would recommend them to Randy right away and say, I've got firsthand experience, and I can back up my endorsement, because we've been happy customers for, like I said, 15 to 20 years.
So what did you learn once you started working with Randy? Did he educate you in the whole process?
Any question that we had, he covered and got answered. We're a reasonably bright bunch. Most of our employees are either have a PhD in chemistry, or are a software engineer, so they've got an undergraduate degree and usually a master's degree in engineering. So we're a pretty bright, nerdy bunch. But real estate is its own different animal, and so like everything else, there's a vocabulary associated with it, and a set of terms that you should know, or you sort of stick out as someone who doesn't really know what they're talking about. And he kept us in the loop and made us feel very comfortable.
So what did you look for when you were looking for a real estate professional to represent you? And did Randy fit what you were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the actual first lease renewal that I was associated with predated us working with Randy and was in the early 2000s. And we did it on our own. So I knew that we were probably being taken advantage of just because we didn't know really what to ask for. So what I was really looking for was someone who knew the market well, but could basically give us an understanding without making us a specialist in real estate, because we've got our own job that we need to deal with. Where we work is an important part of that job, and office space certainly dictates how efficient and how happy your employees are. I was looking for someone who would really make that easy for us, and Randy was definitely the right guy. He did that in spades, and as I said, we wouldn't look anywhere else for representation just because of how consistent he's been over the last 15 to 20 years.
Do you feel that he fought for your needs, and if so, how?
Yeah, we've had a couple of different sort of experimental type custom needs that we needed met. At one point, we had a large computational cluster, so a bunch of computer hardware. We had to have sort of a dedicated room for that. It had to have special ventilation. It had to have its own sort of HVAC that ran 24/7. And as most office buildings will cut the air back or completely cut it off over the weekend, we had to have a special unit that we had access to via thermostat, but put on the roof that just dealt with refrigeration for this room because we had a lot of active computer activity that went on. He got that done for us and was able to basically make that what we thought was kind of do you think there's any way the building would be willing to help with a situation like this? We kind of thought it was a big ask. He got that taken care of. Like, it just, don't worry about it. Of course they're going to do that because that's part of your business. And in order for you to stay in this space, the space needs to meet your needs, and we'll make sure that that's the case, or we'll find the right place for you. So just whatever the specific case would be for each lease renewal, if there was a sort of a shift in our footprint in the building or in our office needs, he's always been able to take care of that for us. And it's not, it's never been a question of like, well, that might be tricky. It's like, oh, okay, if that's what's important for you now, that's what I'm going to make sure we get covered.
So how did you hear about Randy? How did you meet him?
Randy had been involved in some lease renewals in our building, so I knew of him through another tenant, and sort of approached them and said, "Hey, who have you worked with in the past, and who would you recommend?" And that it was sort of word of mouth. But I feel that that had it not been word of mouth, I kind of feel lucky that we heard of him that way. I don't know really what the right vehicle would be if I was to go and try and search for people to represent us now. But we had a good endorsement from another tenant in the building, and that's how we made our initial contact.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So would you recommend Randy in other?
100%. You don't even have to ask. If you couldn't tell by what I've said so far, absolutely. I mean, I feel he's professional, although he also has a great sense of humor. He takes care of essentially any need that you would want as a client. And you're in the middle of the lease and it's a year later or 2 years later, he stays in touch via email, and he pops into the building. We'll go out and have lunch every once in a while, just to maintain the relationship. And I've come to consider him a friend, and hopefully he thinks the same of me. But irrespective of what our friendship is, the business side, he just nails it. We're very, very happy with the representation that we have. And as I said, we wouldn't look anywhere else going forward.
Thank you very much.